Welcome to Winning on Wednesday. My name is Juan Vides. I'm the founder of Winning on Wednesday. And the purpose of Winning on Wednesday is to simply get to know each other. I always say people do business who they know, like, and trust. And speaking of knowing, like, and trust, I'd like to introduce my friend Seth Selesnow. So, Seth, how are you?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you on?
Good, good. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. Let's see. I was born in Albert Einstein Hospital in the Bronx. Grew up in Rockland County. Spent 6 years out in California. Moved out there mostly for the weather. I came back to Long Island in '02, where it's which I've called home since 2002. And let's see. I don't know. What do you want to know? That's where I grew up. That's where I
Yes, good.
lived.
So, yeah, yeah. So take us way back. So you said California. That's where, I mean, you got started there, or I mean, you were born. Where you?
Well, I had my dad's brother, my uncle, late uncle. He lived out in California since I was a young kid. My parents used to send me out there to visit, and I just remember going out there in the winter one year and getting off the plane, and it was like December, and I remember getting off the plane with my winter jacket, and it was like 80 degrees out there, and it was the first time I really understood there was warm weather during the winter, and I got off the plane. I'm like, this is unbelievable. I want to live out here one day. And so that was my dream since I was a kid to move out there for the warm weather. And eventually I did in my early 20s. We just picked up on a whim with my, ex-wife. We were dating for about a year, wanted to get out of here, go to the warm weather. We just picked up and moved out to California, where I spent 6 years out there, uh,
Wow.
driven by the weather.
And when you were growing up, what did you want to do? Did you have any inspirations of like any ideas? Like what did you want to do or any?
No, honestly, I was, I think, 26 when I moved out to California, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do then.
Wow. Wow. And what about role models? Do you have any role models that inspired you?
Um, not really back then. As I look back and reflect on life, if I had to identify a role model, I'd probably say it's my dad. When I was young, my mom went through some mental health issues, and that was kind of a stress and challenge on the family. And I think over time, just watching my dad stand by my mom and always be there for my sister and I. And my parents are still together today. They live up in Rockland County. My sister's 15 minutes away from them in Montville, New Jersey. And so, I would say my dad, just watching him stand by my mom. And
You,
growing up, I wouldn't have always, my dad wasn't always the emotional type. It was, my mom was, two wrongs don't make a right. And my dad was, don't get mad, get even. And
yeah,
like
yeah.
sarcastic one. But he stuck by my mom through all that, and they're still together to this day. And so I think
Wow.
just the way he stood there became an inspiration for me, and just taught me a lot about treating people. Gave me a lot of perspective about understanding the positions that people are in, and I think that's really helped me in both my business and professional life.
It's interesting how we get older, we tend to appreciate our parents. When we were younger, we were like, oh, we I can't stand my parents. We just wanted to, it's interesting how that works, that we can reflect now that you get older, you have more experience and we've been through life and we can get another perspective and we can get understanding what they were going through.
Yeah, and for me, look, I have a lot of friends and colleagues who don't talk to their parents, one or both. I have a lot of friends and colleagues who don't talk to their siblings. And I feel very fortunate that I talk to my parents, I talk to my sister. We all get along. We see each other throughout the year for all different events and holidays. They're actually coming up next week to spend the holidays with Dean and I. So I feel very fortunate, and I think my parents played a big role in that and just how they treated us. And yes, I think that's it all comes back to, if I had to identify a role model, I would say it was my dad for playing that role.
Yeah, it's amazing. Even my parents now, they were my role models, and it's interesting. They had a sixth grade education, and they didn't, but the one thing they had is the love and compassion. So that's something that they taught me, and I love them for that. So yeah, parents are awesome. School. I think you and I went both to the same school, right? We went to Farmingdale. Like we went.
I don't think we did go to the same school. I
Oh,
am very involved in Farmingdale through
oh, okay. I thought
through
you went
some
to Farmingdale.
scholarships and
I
charities.
got
I went
you.
to Ramapo
Because
College in Bergen
Yeah,
County.
because that was my alma mater. That's how that's how we got connected because I know that you were
Well, when
working with
we
farming.
met,
Right,
I was
right.
working with Sal, and Sal went to
Farmingdale.
Farmingdale
Okay,
College.
got it.
And then through the charity that I serve on the board with Sal, we did a lot of scholarships, still do a lot of scholarships with Farmingdale College. And I think that was where the association probably came. So very
Correct.
involved with Farmingdale College, but I did not
Yeah,
go to school.
but it's always that connection, that network. It's always that the third person through somebody, and that's how we got to know each other. So that's really interesting. And then we're here. Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? Isn't that crazy? How like come
And we'll
into
get to it a little bit later, but I'm actually now with Bether, and we just did 100 shower renovations for the dorms
oh
in
wow.
Farmingdale College.
So tell me about your school. What did you go to? I mean, what was your experience at school like, and what did you major? And tell me the whole experience like with the school.
I went to school for marketing. I
Okay.
graduated with a degree in marketing. I'm not really sure I learned much about marketing in school or anything. I mean, I definitely learned some survival skills, but I would say most of my career I learned, on the job, real life, and
Yep.
job experiences. I don't think I was incredibly focused back when I went through school.
Hmm.
Wish I paid a little bit more attention in some classes. But I believe I made up for that in the long run, post college. But I went to school for marketing. I ended up in a marketing position. But again, my 20 years in my prior position as a marketing director, I really don't think there was a lot that I learned in school that I applied there. It was mostly learned on the job in real life situations.
And who was your alma mater, your school? Who was your school you went
I
to?
went to Ramapo College in Bergen County, New Jersey,
Okay.
which was, I grew up in Suffern in Rockland County, right on the border of New York and New Jersey. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, the river that ran along my backyard was the Mawa River. You threw a rock on the other side of the river, it landed in New Jersey. So I actually was able to commute to school. So
Wow,
I
that's
went to
cool.
school in another state that was 15 minutes from my house.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. And do you keep in touch with them at all? Or you don't? I mean, is this an alumni group or anything like that? Like,
No, I don't. As a matter of fact, that's probably one of my biggest regrets in life is that I didn't go away to school. It was kind of
mhm,
convenient because I lived so
right.
close by and was able to drive there. But I do look back and regret missing that experience and not going away and building a lot of those relationships.
But
Um,
but
I was also I was very antisocial back in college, so I did not make a lot of friends. I probably went through a couple of classes without ever even speaking to a classmate. At that point in my life, my focus really was, just getting the degree. I did
right.
not get as much out of that education as I should have.
Wow. Um, Tell us about your jobs, your first job experience, like.
My first job
Yeah,
experience,
and take us to the journey. Take us to the whole journey. We want to know about your first job and tell us all the
my
jobs and to what you're doing to now to bath fitter. So take us to the whole journey.
well, my first job was probably 10 or 11 years old. I was delivering the penny saver on Saturdays and Sundays,
I
the
did that
weekend
too. I
paper.
did that too. Yeah, rolling it up. Roll it.
Roll
Yeah.
them up, throw them down the
Throw it up.
driveway,
Yep.
try to get them on the front stoop. Then I graduated to the daily newspaper, which was the Journal News up in Rockland County. So that was
Okay.
like the equivalent of Newsday here in Long Island.
Right.
So that was my first full-time job, which was 7 days a week. I'd ride my bike into town and had my own paper out. And then as soon as I was old enough, I got a job at Burger King. So I guess that was my first non-paper route job. Worked at Burger King, and then I went
Mm-hmm.
through, Burger King, then Bradley's department store. Then spent
I've,
some time in the Seiko call center, Scholastic, worked for a beer distributor. Even
wow.
got my Series 7 after college, spent a little time in the stock market. Had some let's see, how would I describe it? If you ever saw the movie Boiler Room, I'm pretty sure I started out at one of the companies that that movie was based after. Got a really bad taste of that. Did really well on the Series 7, spent no time in the
Wow.
stock market. Eventually, I just picked up, moved out to California. I lucked out, went to a job fair, and ended up in this role at PC Mall. Now, back in the mid 90s, if you were looking to buy an Apple computer, you couldn't, there was no Apple stores. You can only get an Apple computer by mail. And there were four companies back then that you could buy them from. It was Mac Zone, Mac Warehouse. I don't remember the fourth. And the other one was Mac Mall. It was Mac Mall, PC Mall. And that's where I ended up getting a job in the call center. And so I started out in sales there. And I had just moved out from New York. And so I moved out there. I had no sales experience, no computer experience, but I went to this job fair and it was kind of interesting. So I had a job offer from the Daily News. I was looking to get into advertising, right? So I went to school for marketing. I was like, I want to get into advertising, the Daily News. And just on a whim, I went to this job fair and I get a call from PC Mall and they want to interview me. And I kind of had the job offer from the Daily News. It was still my early 20s, had no real, professional experience. And when they called to tell me about the job, it was a sales position in a call center, but it was inbound sales. And I was a little taken aback. I was like, you mean people are calling in and you're going to pay me commission? That was unheard of for me moving out to California. I'm thinking, sales is knocking on doors, pounding the
Right.
phone, and cold calling. And I was just really intrigued by this opportunity to answer phones and get
Get
paid.
paid.
So I got to go in for this interview. So I went in for the interview, and they were pretty upfront. They said, listen, we'll pretty much hire anybody, give you a shot. We have a 3-week training program, and then we'll see what happens. And they did. They had a 3-week training program. I think no more than half of the people typically survived the 3 weeks of training. And then those who did go out on the floor, I think there was about 10 to 20% of those people were still there 3 months later. But I was like, man, if I'm going to go in there and be able to answer phones and you're driving in the calls to the call center and going to pay me commission, I'll give it a shot. So I ended up taking that job, and I had just moved out from New York. California is a little bit different. The work ethic is not the same out there. I don't know if it's the sun, the weather, or whatever. But just showing up for work and putting in an effort put me at like the top of the class. And in the first 2 months, I was in the top like 5% of the salespeople. They had a sales floor of 100 people. And to be totally honest, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no computer experience, no sales experience. I was just working harder than everyone else. I remember at the time I would go home from work in the first week, and I'd be taking calls. And I told my ex-wife, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it here. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm answering the calls. I'm like, people are asking me questions about computers, technology. I'm like, I'm putting them on hold. I'm turning to the colleague next to me, and I couldn't even reiterate the questions they were asking me. So like this, but over time, I just, I started to learn, and I hustled, and eventually I got noticed there, was recruited to go become one of the sales managers, became a sales manager. So I had my own team of 20. So there were about, 10 sales managers. Each of us had a team of 20. And then, and I ended up, that evolved into a training role. And that's a story for another day. But I ended up in a training position, and that I really loved. That was probably one of the most rewarding positions I ever had. I became the head trainer for, this is $1 billion company, PC Mall. They would hire every 3 weeks. They'd bring in a new class of about 20 people. And I ran the 3-week new hire training program for everybody that walked through the door. So sales training, the CRM that the company was using, all the nuances. And then I would coordinate all the vendor training. So I'd bring in the computer, Hewlett Packard or to do computer training and memory training and all different companies. And so I ran the training department. I was there for 5 years, loved the job, ended up with a great mentor there, Rory Zach, who I still talk to today. And I only ended up leaving that job because I ended up moving back to New York for family reasons, looking to start a family with the ex-wife. But otherwise, I could have stayed there for quite some time.
Wow. And then how did you get into the trade? To I mean, I know, I mean, I hadn't, how did you make that
So I
transition?
moved, I came back. So I was in California from 96 to 02 in LA. I reluctantly moved back. I did not really want to come back. My ex-wife did. We wanted to come back and start a family. But most of our support system was here. And, so my uncle had passed away, while I was out there. And so I came back, and I was back for about a year, and I really enjoyed the training position that I was in California. So I was trying to break into training. But I didn't really have any formal training background. I was really successful at that role because I had spent time doing the job as a sales rep, as a sales manager. So I struggled to find that opportunity here. I ended up taking a job at the time with Cablevision because they had a huge call center. And I'm like, this will be a great path for me. I'll get into the call center, I'll learn the business, and then that could hopefully be a segue into training. And while I was in that role, my ex-wife's stepsister and Sal's ex-wife went to high school together. So I was, this was back in 2002, when I had first moved back. My ex-sister-in-law had everyone over for the Jewish holidays. I think it was Rosh Hashanah. And Sal's whole family, other than him, was in Florida with his in-laws, and he was home alone. So like, oh, why don't you come over? They were really good friends. So he ended up coming over, and we ended up sitting right next to each other at Rosh Hashanah dinner at my sister-in-law's house. The lone Italian came over to the house, and we just started bullshitting. And he's like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I've been, trying to get into training, and worked in a call center. And he's like, oh, I've been looking to hire a trainer. I'm like, oh, what do you do? He's like, I own a remodeling company. We should talk. So I took his card, followed up with him. And I would say about a month or two later, I was brought on board there, and actually as a sales trainer capacity. And within 2 or 3 months, he kind of just handed off the call center to me because that's where my background was, and then just took over the marketing department. And I actually spent 19 and a half years there,
Wow.
a marketing
Wow.
director. But that's how I met Sal, and that's how I ended up
Right.
there, just at a family function, sitting right next to each other. And a funny story, because I talked about my dad before. My parents were supposed to come that night. My dad actually wasn't feeling well, and because they didn't come is the only reason I ended up sitting right next to Sal, and that's really what sparked the
It,
conversation. And that little thing ended up,
it,
translating into an almost 20-year career for a
isn't that
successful model.
crazy if they wouldn't that things it wouldn't happen because of that?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's wild.
And Sal and I had met at a few other functions, at my ex-sister-in-law's, and hadn't really spoke or engaged, just not that we were avoiding each other, but there was always, a big family barbecue.
yeah.
I was hanging out with the nieces and nephews, and
Mhm.
that one day we just ended up next to each other, and that's how that journey began.
Yeah, it's just you never know with this the synchronicities and all that stuff that happens. You just it's the universe, right? The alignment. So
Yep.
that's amazing. And so then you from there you made the transition to where you are now, right?
So
That
I was there, 19 and a half years. About 3 years ago, Sal ended up selling the company to a private equity firm. I won't get into the details, but things drastically changed there. The culture, they changed the whole management team. So
of
I left
course.
there. When I left there, this was June of 23. So at that time, I was like, you know what? And I was prepared for that. I kind of saw it coming after the sale. And so at that point in June of 23, I said, man, I haven't had a summer off as an adult, right? I was there 19 and a half years. I spent 5 years at PC Mall where I worked before that. I said, I'm not working this summer. I'm taking the summer off. And as luck would have it, I have a good high school friend of mine, Max. He's been living in Portugal for the last few years. So when I mentioned to him what went on, he's like, "Oh, I'm traveling all of July with Diana and the boys. Why don't you take my house? I'll leave you my Tesla." And I was like, "Okay." So I booked a one-way flight, and I went and spent 3 weeks out in Portugal. Had a great summer. My first real vacation as an adult with no work stress and no work responsibility. It was just some really good downtime to recharge, reset. Ended up coming back, was recruited by a tile company, which I won't get into. They turned out to be not all they were cracked up to be. So a little short-term venture there, but was a great learning experience. And as luck would have it, when I was at Allure for the 20 years, I ran the marketing department, and one of my colleagues, Mike Goldberg, he was running the sales department. So together, we really built, the 5-day bath and 10-day kitchen business, which really helped Allure eventually get sold. And so when all things changed there, he actually started at Bath Fitter 20 or so years ago. He reconnected with the owner of the franchise out here, and he was brought on board to help grow the commercial division. And so we had spent 20 years working together. Well, 17, I would say, to be exact, of my 19 there. And he's like, "Listen, here's the great opportunity here. Let's talk." And so he brought me on board, and so we're now back together again in this new venture here at Bath Fitter. Great company, great brand, and it was a great opportunity. Again, it was all timing. When
Yeah, yeah.
after I left the tile company, I had considered maybe going out and starting my own marketing agency. That's what I was doing for quite some time. I was talking to a few other agencies. Then I threw my back out. I spent about a week on the floor, unable to stand up. Dealt with about 4 weeks of 4 months of back issues, which ended up in a microdiscectomy. I had surgery this year
Yeah, I
in
remember that.
July.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Wow.
And by the time I was recovering from the surgery, is when Mike ended up connecting with Bath Fitter. And by the time I got on my feet, he had just got settled in here and said, "Listen, there's an opportunity. You can bring somebody on board." And so the timing just worked out great.
Again, alignment, right? The alignment. It's just the synchronicity. Yeah, it's just amazing. Wow, that's
And
amazing. And
no, the pun intended, but it turned out to be a great fit.
oh, yeah, yeah.
The timing fit.
The
So I
time
can't
and
wait
fit.
to.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, I would like to call the golden nugget moment. The golden nugget moment is, all the experience that you have, this whole great journey that you had, this wonderful journey. Is there something that you want to leave behind, or something that can help them with their career, or be a better person, or overall any information that you want to share with us that that you learned that from your experience?
I mean, there's probably a lot to cover there, but a few things that stand out. When back at PC Mall when I started that job, right after I was promoted to sales manager, the guy who hired me had left and went and taken a job at Microsoft. I remember at the time, and they brought in this guy from the field to take over the sales floor, and he had this reputation of just being this this in your face, really high pressure sales guy. And I had just started and was still kind of uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to survive here. And so he came in and he corralled the team and he had a big sales meeting. And I'll never forget that first meeting. He sat down and he just said, listen, I'm going to drill a few things into your head. And he goes, if you remember nothing else that I teach you, and he says, follow up and communication. Now you think, wow, that seems very simple and very basic. But he pointed out that he said, if you master those two things, follow up and communication, that you will be ahead of 80% of your peers and 80% of your competition almost everywhere in life. And I really took that to heart. I implemented that. And I can honestly say, as basic as that seems, that advice has served me so well in my life, professionally and personally, because as I've learned after 54 years on this earth, a lot of people don't follow up
Nope.
and a lot of people do not effectively communicate.
Correct.
And I really did focus on those things, and they really served me well. So if I was, if I was going to say to, just obviously you've got to know your stuff, you've got to prepare, and if you're selling something, you've got to know your material and be educated and read. But the very basics that should not be, overlooked, follow up and communication. And again, those two things, if you do master them, you'll find that you are ahead of the curve in most situations.
You know what? You just reminded me something because I don't know if you know this, but I also work with the New York Institute of Technology, and I brought my 15-year-old son to the campus for the network, and I introduced her to the coordinator. And you just reminded me that I should tell my son to follow up with her because that is so important what you're saying. And the youth, the young generations, they need to understand this and hear this, that follow up is so key, that the execution, because the action is taking the action, and for you what your energy putting into it and taking the time and saying that you're important enough that I want to communicate with you as a human being, and that means a lot, particularly because everybody's doing this nowadays.
Yep.
Everybody's doing this. Nobody's paying attention. So I like to call people, I like to call people out of the blue. The best thing I like to do is wish people happy birthday. That's another thing to do, happy birthday, because it make them about them, make them feel
Sure.
special. People like to feel special. So that is so important to put follow through. I'm glad that you said that. That's really, really great. Great advice. Great advice, So
Thank you.
absolutely.
It'll
Um,
serve me well. It'll serve me
yeah,
well.
and keep doing it, but keep doing it. You got to keep on doing it. How about the networking groups? Let's talk about networking groups. Do you belong to any other networking groups besides? I know Winning on Wednesday, you've come to thank you
Winning
supporting.
on Wednesday,
Right.
there's a lot of different, I belong to ABA, the Boss Networking Group, which is focused on,
Mm. AB,
commercial industry.
ABA is with Ellen, right? Ellen Volpe. Yeah,
Ellen and
yeah,
Joe
yeah.
Giametta.
Joe J. Meta, yeah, yeah, yeah. Good people. And
Um,
Joe used to work for Long Island Business News,
yeah,
so
yeah,
and
that's how I met Joe. That's
yeah,
how
yeah,
I
yeah,
met him.
yeah, and I was honored, 40 under 40, by the way. So
Yeah.
again, it's all it's all about networking. It's all about the networking. You
Yep.
said,
And then industry, or well, then Libby, Long Island Builders Institute, because
yeah,
a trade organization, Queens Chamber of Commerce, the
right,
HIA. So and for me, it's been a big transition, right? I spent
right,
my
right, right.
last 20 years in the marketing role for residential remodeling, and now I'm in business development on the commercial end. So the networking groups are really important for me to get out there, to meet people, make the right connections, and also, to help grow the commercial division of the business. So there's your standard networking groups, then your trade organizations, and industry related organizations. So there's a lot of groups that we're actively involved in.
I always say a closed mouth doesn't get fed. You have to go out there, squeaky wheel gets the grease. You really have to put in the work, and that's what they call networking. They
Yep.
call it networking because you have to actually physically work and go out
Yeah,
there,
look, if you change one letter, it becomes not working.
Not working, not work. Yeah, yeah, not work. I like that. Yeah, yeah, I like that. The first time I hear that. Not work, folks. That don't do that. Not work. It's network. Network. You got to put the work into the network. Exactly. I like that. I love it. I love it. So, tell us now. This was with the last minute. I saved the best for last. So, tell us about bath fitters. I mean, I know you told us a little bit about it, but if you just tell us the whole stuff, the whole, and I saved the best for last, by the way.
Yeah, no, look, like I said, for me, the timing was great, the opportunity was great. Um, when I when I was in my transition, the one thing that was important to me is that if I was going to go work for another company, especially in business development or sales role, I really wanted a company that I can be proud of, and that I can, sell or promote with passion and enthusiasm. And bath fitters certainly fit that bill. Not to use the fit pun again, but it really did fit the bill. Bath fitters been around since 1984, back since I was in started high school. You've probably seen the commercials out there. We're pretty well known in the residential industry for one-day bath renovation. We have a very unique acrylic bath product that goes right over the existing wall and tub, allows us to renovate a bathroom in a day. But most people do not know that Bath Fitter also has a commercial division. In fact, Bath Fitter started back in the 80s as a commercial solution. Our first ever bathroom was for the York Hotel in Montreal, Canada. The residential market kind of took off, and that's what we're mostly known for. But we also serve a lot of sectors in the commercial industry, and that's the division that I'm in. So that same one-day bath product, the same system, we help facility managers, operations personnel in hospitals, hotels, assisted living facilities, student housing and dorms. We just renovated 100 shower dorms at Orchard Hall at Farmingdale College. And one of our big niches right now is in affordable housing work. We do a lot of work through NYCHA, working with general contractors in affordable housing, some multi-unit properties. And there's a number of advantages that Bath Fitter brings to the table. So number one, our product is acrylic. We manufacture all of our own product right here in the United States. We have a plant in Tennessee. Bath Fitter's a brand throughout the United States and North America, all over the US and Canada. There's another plant up in Montreal. And so we manufacture our own acrylic. And what we do is we have a one-piece acrylic wall system. We go out, we measure the bathroom, and there's about 960 potential bathtubs that you might find across the United States. We have a mold for every one of them in our factory. So we would go out to the bathroom, we measure the wall, we measure the tub, we figure out which liner that is. And then so with two pieces, that one 3-piece wall, we bring the wall out, we actually use a heating product to bend the walls. And that way we're able to replace and cover up that wall with one piece. So there's no seams. So a typical bathroom, most of your leaks you're going to find in the corners of that bathroom, or you're going to have to maintain the grout. Our acrylic product, as it does have simulated grout lines for design, but there's no grout and no seams. So it's super durable, super easy to clean. It's non-porous, so there's nothing for mold or mildew to grow on. It's non-thermally conductive. So you ever fill up a tub before you go take your bubble bath, and by the time you step in, the water already starts to cool. Well, acrylic will hold that temperature much longer. But most importantly, it's the durability and easy to clean. So for a hospital or a hotel where they're constantly cleaning and dealing with germs and different types of, it could be blood or whatever the environment is, acrylic is non-porous, super easy to clean. You can clean it with soap and water. It's super durable. As a matter of fact, acrylic, a lot of people don't know, is used. If you ever seen a shark tank or gone to an aquarium, most of those tanks are made out of acrylic because of the durability of the product. So for us, we also do ADA compliant bathrooms. So for assisted living facilities, we can pull out a tub and convert that into a shower. It could be a walk-in shower, so you can get a wheelchair in there and make it easily accessible. We have grab bars, seats, non-slip flooring. For the affordable housing industry or the multifamily properties, if they're doing a big renovation on multi-units and multiple buildings, we also manage resident occupied properties. So, normally if you're doing a traditional remodel, you got to gut and remodel the bathroom. It's taking a couple of days. Well, where are you putting those residents? You're moving them into a hotel for 2 or 3 days, or you have to bounce them around into vacant apartments within the building. With us, we can come in 8 o'clock in the morning, the resident goes out to work. By the time they come home at the end of the day, we're done. So that's another huge advantage that we bring to the table, because we can do those bathrooms in a day. So we save time, we save money, we save resources with a product that's incredibly durable.
And the experience. I mean, you guys have the experience of many years, so it's
No,
amazing.
we're actually celebrating our 40-year anniversary.
Right.
So we've got the experience. We manufacture our own material. Everything's installed by in-house trained, certified installers. Experience with our product, and we cover everything in the bathroom. So
that's amazing, because it's usually sometimes projects that delay, as because they got to wait for parts, they got to wait for this, but the fact that you guys make it and manufacture, that's amazing. That made sense, and that's why you're able to expedite these projects much quickly.
Yep. And we work with Delta and Moen, so we update all the plumbing.
Hmm.
But like you said, the key is that we manufacture our own product, so we're not waiting on supplies and materials,
That's cute.
uh, all experienced, trained labor. So we can go handle those big projects that a lot of the competitors, can't really compete with the size. So we've got the experience, we've got the product, the durability. The one-piece wall system is really unique because again, it limits the seams that are in the bathroom. A lot of hotels love us because our product's super easy to clean and there's no grout to maintain. So a lot of times, if you use tile to do a bathroom, you're going to have to go back in 3 or 4 months and deal with resettled grout. And then if people don't take care of that grout and don't clean their bathroom on a regular basis, which does happen in a lot of areas, that if it's you don't have that ownership pride in a hotel or a rental or a facility, or even in student dorms where you got kids pounding on walls using the tubs to put their kegs in there for the keg party. So the durability is really important. The easy to clean is really important.
Right.
The ability to get in and out in a day is really important, and we bring all that to the table.
So, any plans for 2025? What any future plans?
The plans, for me, this is relatively a new role, so the plans are, growth. Like I said, most people that I meet today are very familiar with the Bath Fitter name. They
Hmm.
know, oh, I've seen your commercials, the one day bath, but
Right.
most of them are not aware that we do commercial work. And so that's my role right now, is to get out
To
there
get
and
more
all these
exposure.
networking groups and these trade
Yeah,
organizations, and to
and
help make sure
and
people are aware of this solution, because once they become aware of it, they realize, wow, this is a great advantage to maybe some other things that they may be doing. And in most cases, we can help them save time, help them save money, help them
and
save resources, and deliver a beautiful product that's built to last a lifetime.
and we'll help you get some exposure out there, help you get the people know who they are. Something that you guys do commercials, so we'll definitely keep that in mind. And what's the best way to contact you if people want to get in to learn more about you, or uh, to talk to
You can email me directly at sselesnow@bathfitterny.com. Our website, bathfittercommercial.com. Uh, Call me. My phone's available anytime, 516-820-8934. Um, I run a monthly poker game, so you can even reach out if you want to play some poker and join
you?
some networking. And
Oh yeah, that's right.
enjoy.
We could quickly tell us about that the poker, because that's really interesting. You and I were talking about earlier, but it's interesting when we talk about networking, right? And you make it fun, you make it interesting. I mean, people play pickleball, people play other things, golf and other things, but you play poker, my friend.
Well, I mean, like I do enjoy some golf. The back issues have made that a little bit more challenging. So, I used to play a lot of ice hockey up until my mid 40s when I initially hurt my back. So that got shelved. Now with the back issues, I would say I'm more geared toward, cardio less activities. As a matter of fact, I had a little party over the summer, a little house party. Dean and I threw a party, and we called it the cardio less Olympics, for the mobility impaired. So it was more of ping pong, darts, cornhole. There is this really cool game actually called Sauce Toss, which is like a hockey version of cornhole. So love activities like that. Love live music. Love to travel. But right before COVID, I had just started playing poker. I just got into poker, probably around 2020. I joined a league with some friends, and 2 months in, everything got shut down from COVID. We then started playing online, kind of got a little addicted to playing, online poker every night. And then as soon as things freed up a little bit, the guys that originally ran that group weren't really proactive in getting the group back together. But I had just gotten interested, and I was like, I really want to play. So I reached out to some of the guys, and I ended up trying to get a little league together. And 4 years later, I actually have two poker groups. So we have a Friday night league where the first Friday of every month, the same 15, 16 of us actually get together. We play once a month. And at the end of the 12 months, because we keep track and standing, so the top four out of the 16 at the end of the year win a $2,500 entry into a Borgata tournament. But the key is that if one of those winners goes into a tournament and wins, they keep 75% of the pot, but the other 25 gets split among the group. So it's
That's
just
good.
great camaraderie, and it keeps
Yeah,
everyone has a vested interest. You're actually rooting for someone who may have beat you out during the season, but now they actually have a chance to earn you some money. So that's our league game. And then once a month we play on a random Thursday night, and that's just whoever comes. Some people play every month, some people play whenever they can, some people play once every 5 months, but that has kind of evolved And I think we started, with 8 or 9 of us, and we just had our monthly game last night, our last one of the year. We had 24 people show up, play at my friend's house,
Wow,
Richie in
wow.
Huntington. We had three
And,
tables set up. And so that
and,
there's probably about 70 people right now
and
in that chat group, but we average about 16 to 17 per outing. Every now and then we'll break 20. And so last night was one of those nights we had 24 people, but that's become, a great social group, poker group, and also
networking,
networking. There's
networking. They,
people have
yeah,
met some other people in there and gotten leads, jobs out of there and business out of there. And it's just
it's
another
amazing, right?
avenue of
Yeah,
networking. And that just
for
kind of evolved over time. And it all just
but
started right around COVID.
and it's something that you enjoy, like a hobby, right? Like you enjoy the game and it's something like that, and you
I do,
just
yeah,
you
I'd like to win a little bit
yeah, of
more, but
course.
and figure out how to
Yeah,
monetize that a little bit. But yes, even win or lose, it's a lot
yeah,
of fun.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
enjoyable. It's a great group of people, and it's now just become like a group of
It,
friends slash family.
it, it's always an activity, I guess, an activity to do to brings everybody together. I guess in any capacity, whether it be cornhole or poker, whatever it be, it's always that it's networking, it's that human interaction, right? And
Yes, and I
communication.
love to entertain, and
Of
Dean
course,
and I love to have fun. It's all about entertainment.
yeah, you just recently dressed up as Buddy the elf, right?
I did. So, many years ago, I bought a Buddy the Elf outfit. Big fan of the movie. But I bought an outfit for, I think it was for a pajama or a holiday party. And then, and I help support a couple different charities. And one of the charities is the Jets, Join Everyone to Share. And so every year they get collect a bunch of toys. They have someone dress up as Santa and they go deliver toys to kids, usually at one of the hospitals, often Winthrop Hospital. And so several years ago, right after I got the outfit, they were talking about making the plans one day. And I was like, I got a Buddy the Elf outfit. I can come join Santa if you want. And so I went with them and it was awesome, very rewarding.
That's
A lot of the
amazing.
kids, really enjoyed Buddy.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
that became a little thing. So now I actually do about 4 events a year. My brother-in-law runs a charity out in Jersey. I go do that with him. That one, Dina comes with me. She dresses up as Jovi. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can get on the camera there.
You gotta hold your chest because you have a screen.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go,
oh,
like that.
because of the screen.
Yeah, the screen. Yeah,
There
there
you
you
go.
go.
Yeah.
We
So
go. We go.
that's
That's
Dina
cool.
and I
Yeah, that's cool.
and Buddy.
Yep.
Right there. So yeah, this was a couple of weeks ago
Wow.
at one of
That's
the
pretty
events.
cool. That's pretty cool.
So it was really funny. So this year, my brother-in-law reached out to me about a month beforehand, and he said, "Listen, the person that normally does Santa Claus can't make it this year. It's like, would you and Dina mind doing, Santa and Mrs. Claus?" And I was like, I'm kind of a buddy guy. I don't understand. I'm like, I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to wear a beard. I don't want kids sitting all over my lap. I'm like, I know all Buddy's lines. I'm like, I'd much rather do Buddy. I said, if you're in a pinch last minute, let me know. I said, but I'd really prefer you try to find a Santa, and I'll do the Buddy. He ended up finding a Santa, so I did the Buddy. So I went to Winthrop this year. I also went out with the Long Island Builders Institute. They work with Christmas Magic, and they do that for 2 nights at the Holbrook Fire Department. So I did 2 nights there as Buddy, and at one of the events, I watched one of the kids sitting on Santa's lap, and then when the kid got up to walk away, I had saw that the kid had just must have peed in their pants. And when that kid got up to walk away, I just saw the wet spot on their pants, and all I could think of was that is
That,
why I do not want to be Santa. That is why I do Buddy. And that just reminded me that is why I am not fit for Santa,
wow.
more for Buddy. But we like to have fun. We just went to another pajama holiday party recently, and Dina said, let's do matching outfits. So probably not what most people would expect, but we did wear
Oh.
matching
It's
holiday
a shirt.
outfits.
It's a shirt, folks.
Okay,
It's a
matching
shirt.
shirts. It's just a shirt, just a shirt, just a shirt. But and again,
I like to like to
you
like to
talked about
think the fun.
hobbies. Dina and I love to have fun, and that
That's awesome. That's amazing. Well,
great soulmate. But when you ever go reverse trick or treating?
no, what's
You ever
that?
hear of that?
No, never heard of that.
Probably a good story over drinks one day, but I'll give you the brief version. This year for Halloween, Dina was really upset because we went out and bought a bunch of candy. She likes to watch the kids come up in all their different costumes, but we weren't getting a lot of trick-or-treaters. And we live in a little spot where just past our block in one turn is Jericho Turnpike. So a lot of the kids don't want to go to the main road, Jericho Turnpike, so they were turning like before they got to our house. So she was watching people outside, going past our house and not stopping at our house. And so she's getting really upset. And She's like, oh, they're stopping at the house across the street. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? You want to take the candy, go sit on a neighbor's doorstep? And she's like, can we? And I'm like, no, we're not going to go sit on someone else's doorstep. She goes, well, what if we just go out and start handing out candy to people? So I said to her, I said, listen, if you think I'm going to go walk around the street with you and hand out candy to kids walking around the neighborhood dressed in street clothes, you're crazy. But if you're willing to put on some costumes and do that, I will consider it. Still a little weird, but at least if we put on costumes, we can have some fun and no one needs to know who the hell we are. So we did. So I went in to my tub of materials and we pulled out these two masks and we took our candy and we actually went and walked around the neighborhood and went up to the kids and handed the candy out. And it was kind of a weird thing, but I actually
Yeah,
did some
yeah,
research and it's called reverse trick or treating. And it was interesting because most kids, understandably, were a little bit spooked when people
yeah.
walked up to them
Yeah,
handing
I
out
would be.
candy.
Yeah, I would be
But
too.
but Dina was so excited.
Dude,
She's like, oh no, we're not weird or anything.
we-
There's
we-
nobody
you-
coming to our house. And once she explained it, like
oh,
I'm
okay,
sitting there
yeah,
rolling my eyes,
okay, there
thankfully
you
behind the
go.
mask. But
Yes,
most of the kids were like, "Oh my God, that's really
yeah,
cool. That's really
yeah,
nice." And so it was
yeah,
actually
yeah,
really entertaining. I would not have
yeah.
expected it.
But you have to put a disclaimer because remember, the kids are taught not to take candies from strangers.
Oh, so,
But,
so it's
but,
funny you say that. So we walked up to one group, and they were probably young teens, and so they're kind of looking at us like with these strange looks. And she's like, "No, no, it's okay. We're not weird or anything. And no one was coming to our house. We wanted to give away candy." So the girl's like, "Okay," and there were three of them. There's two girls and a guy. So she's like, "No, go ahead. You can take." And they're all hesitant. And then so one of the kids he goes to reach into the bag, and the girl looks at him. She goes, "You can't take that candy." And the kid look, and so he looks at the girl and he goes, "What do you think they're gonna do? Drug us?" And I
yeah.
was like, "Don't worry, we're not giving away any of the
You
good
know,
drugs. You guys are safe."
you know what? You should have an idea because you gave me an idea. You like to set up a lemonade stand, like a lemonade stand, but with lights, with the neon lights, with the neon lights and disco balls, and it'll be good for you because you don't have to walk. You just stay there, they just, and just stand in the corner and just hand out candy. That's what I would do because they'll make it more fun. But yeah,
It
but if
was
you
one
got
of those things where it was awkward, it was weird. I was hesitant, but it actually ended up being a very
fun,
entertaining
yeah,
evening. We had some
that's
great
good.
laughs. The kids' reactions were great.
That's good.
Um, and at the end, they were actually appreciative, and we
Yeah.
ended up getting rid of all the candy, so which was
Well,
good
that's
for both
good.
of us.
Good.
It felt good, and it was also good not to have all the junk food in the house.
The way that I get rid of the candy, I just leave a bowl out there, and they take it all. So there'll be that one kid that just stuff
Yep.
everything of it. He'll get rid of it, and you'll get rid of it that way. But anyway, thank you so much. Listen, I know we could be here forever talking, but thank you so much for taking this time. And just tell us one more time, what's the best way to reach you? To give us the contact information so that's we have an
Uh,
idea.
I would the best way to reach me is by email. S Selesnow. That's SSELESNOW at bathfitterny.com.
All right, Seth, thank you so much. And if you want to be a guest on Winning on Wednesday, please go to our website, winningonwednesday.com, and just sign up as a first time guest, and we'll see you next week. All right. Thank you so much, Seth. Thank you. It's been
Thank
great.
you.
And I'll see
Thanks.
you.